Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be reviewing the brand new KB Knives Mosquito. This, I'm just going to say it now, is another absolute banger coming from KB Knives. I've been so impressed with them this year. This is a Dudnik design, as you see there. And we have, I call it the medium to large range in EDC at 7.83 inches with a 3.46 inch compound ground drop point blade with a nice vertical satin on your primary grinds, a brushed satin on your flats, and then the fuller that is on both sides of the blade has a bead blast in the middle. You have some fantastic fine cut jimping that does a great job of gripping the thumb when you need it, when you put pressure down on it. Or if you don't need it, it's not going to tear up your thumb. If I got to have jimping, that's the way I like it. You have dual thumb studs that stay out of the cutting path as you see there. And this should be a fairly versatile blade shape. You got the little bit of belly up here to do cuts on a flat cutting surface. You got a good length of straight edge right here to do your in-hand cuts. Only thing that would be difficult with this is to try to use a tip for doing fine detail work. You can do it, but you're going to have to come up close to a 90-degree angle. It'd be a lot easier just to use this portion, somewhat of a secondary tip there. Not totally, but you could definitely drag through stuff with that. And we'll test all that out in just a second. We have a very well executed sharpening choil. It's not going to start to thicken up to about right here, so you can have tons of sharpening life before you'll ever have to even think about that. Your blade stock on this one's coming in at 0.13 inches, and your hollow ground section right here is coming down nice and thin to around 14 thousandths behind the edge. Then the thicker flat ground portion up here is still fairly thin at around 20 thousandths behind the edge. All that with a 20 degrees per side edge bevel. So this one should definitely be a slicing machine. Why don't we find out? This is now the fourth KB knife that I've received that came wicked sharp. And this one's got some excellent blade geometry, not to mention the edge bevel is not super obtuse like I'm used to seeing from a lot of production companies. This one is gliding through the cardboard, effortless, and I expected it would, especially got this nice straight edge portion before the compound grind goes into that thicker tip. And now we're going to test the ergos, and I was kind of concerned. I never like seeing a pocket clip all the way at the top of the scales like this one. I know why they did it. They could have avoided it, and we'll talk about it later in the review. But for the most part, it was comfortable, especially because I'm choked up on that flat portion of the scales. I'm getting a lot of power into the cut, and it wanted to bite, and it wanted to bite deep. I could feel the clip toward the end, but that's pretty usual whenever I start exerting that much force into the wood. But comfortable, about as comfortable as flat scales can be. And one thing that I do like a lot about this one is, even though it's got more belly than I typically tend to go for, that curved belly portion in the thicker flat ground portion makes this work very easy. You can kind of do like a push down cut if you want. You can do a rocking motion cut, and you'll see me going back and forth trying to see which one I like the best. And being that it was wicked sharp, and even though it's thicker in that flat ground portion, it's still only 20 thousandths behind the edge. Now it's going to thicken up quicker than the hollow ground portion, obviously, but you know, if you tend to use your knives harder in the tip area, then this might be a good option for you. But so far, I've been really enjoying this one. Flat cutting surface cuts, excellent. And in-hand cuts, excellent, because the way this compound grind's set up, you got a straight edge portion. So pretty darn versatile. You know, doing tip work is not going to be easy. You're going to have to come up almost to a 90 degree, and you'll see me in just a second just use that secondary point that is created by the compound grind. It's not really a point per se, but talk about a little scalpel though. And you'll see me using that bellied portion for the majority of this other stuff. Even the dense materials didn't cause any issues whatsoever. The finishing keeps the blade with less friction going through the materials, and it never slowed down once. And I haven't had any bad experience with any of the KB knives that I've tested since in the last 4 especially. So keep it up, KB Knives. I gotta say, KB Knives is 4 for 4 this year. Seems like every new knife I get from them gets better and better and better, and that's what you want to see. So now let's take a look at the deployment in action on this one. So you have dual thumb studs that work great. Look at this. Whoop! I mean, stupid smooth. You can reverse flick off those studs if you want. You can slow roll off the studs. And then you have the fuller on both sides that if you want to reverse flick off the fuller, you can. If you want to slow roll off the fuller, you can. And if you want to do a drop down, you can do that also holding onto that fuller. Same goes with the left side as well. Easy access, no problem. Let's see, can I? Oh, I can even reverse flick left-handed. It's got a very well-tuned detent. Got a nice crisp action. That blade comes rocketing out once you break that detent. It's riding on cage ceramic bearings with a ceramic detent ball. Give it a nice controlled drop there. Look at that. Ooh, that's the way I like to see it. Definitely feels like a premium action to me. Your thumb studs are comfortable. No issues there. Now let's close it up. Take a look at these beautiful scales. So my particular version has this beautiful diamond texturing milled into the tie. And mine has a black DLC coating on it, along with all the hardware, your backspacer, and your pocket clip. Love seeing that. You got a tip up milled tie pocket clip, as you see there. And at first, when I first got this, I was like, oh, they did make it reversible. But if you look close, you can see the milling line right here for that filler tab. Excellently done. I mean, really nice. Y'all can probably see it a lot easier because I got studio lights on it and I'm in HD right now. So yeah, for me, it wasn't the easiest. And as you see, you got nice crisp Torx T8 hardware that has also been DLC coated, and that's titanium hardware. The KB Knives, the logoed pivot, got chamfer around it. It sits a little proud, but I don't care. That doesn't bother me any. And you have a Torx T8 on this side as well. And your pocket clip's Torx T8. Small little backspacer with an integrated lanyard loop for all the lanyard people out there. I'm glad they didn't put a hole in the scales. I like whenever they make it a little bit more discreet. That way it should appease lanyard people and non-lanyard people. Now, to me, this is a big miss. You have this beautiful texture here. They even carried it over here. Excellent job. But why would you do that? And there's 2 reasons why I don't like seeing this. First off, you're breaking up this beautiful diamond texture. And I never like seeing pocket clips this close to the butt of the knife because it can become a hot spot. Now, luckily, they have this flat portion on these scales that I can choke up on, and where my hand lands, it wasn't really that much of an issue. I could feel it, but it wasn't uncomfortable. But that could have been avoided altogether if you would have put the lock relief on the inside, and then see how they used this standoff screw as the pocket clip screw. They could have used this one that's directly in the middle and put it right here, but they didn't do that because they have this lock relief there and you would have got hung up in that area. So that would have knocked out 2 birds, 1 stone. Come on now. But definitely not a deal breaker, just a gripe. Let's check out the inside. So as you can see, you got tons of pocketing on those tie scales on the top, and look at that. They took as much as they possibly could on top and bottom liner to help bring down the weight and also to balance the knife out. Bringing this one to 3.44 ounces. I think that's spectacular. And not to mention your balance point, excellent. This thing feels way lighter than that, and it's a lot more agile in hand. I don't feel like it's tipping one way or the other. The lockup on my knife sitting at around 50 to 60% or so. Access to that lock bar is good. That choil right there comes down a little bit lower. Then you have this ever so slight texturing on the lock bar with that chamfer. It's nice and comfortable. I can easily get my thumb in there. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. The lockup on this one, yeah, they've been nailing that as well. Absolute bank vault. No movement up or down, left or right. Exactly what I want to see. Now for some quick size comparisons. As you can see, it's in the middle, the Ontario Rat 1 and 2. And it's just a hair bigger than the KB Knives Pioneer and the KB Taurus. And it's just a hair longer than both the Concept Fenrir and the Concept Quasar. And lastly, it's smaller than the Spyderco PM2 and is very similar in length to the Benchmade 940. And since no knife's perfect, what are my nitpicks and complaints? We talked about them. I would have really loved to see this lock relief cut put on the inside. That way this texture wouldn't have been interrupted at all. And you could have put this pocket clip dead in the center. That way it should make the ergonomics a lot better for the majority of people. But like I said, it's still good for me whenever I'm choked up right here. I do feel it a good bit more whenever I'm choked back like this. But for the most part, anytime I'm cutting in hand, I like to get as close as I can to that edge so I can control my cuts a lot better. And I can get a lot more force into what I'm cutting. And lastly, this isn't a cheap knife, just like majority of the KB knives. Now, I personally think it's worth it, and I know this is more of like a collector's centered knife or somebody's maybe one and done, but there's 3 different variations. The baseline one is coming in at 280 bucks. That's pretty steep. This particular version with the all DLC tie and hardware clip and backspacer, and I think even the thumb studs, this one jumps up to 360 bucks. So yeah, I know that's very, very steep, and I know that's going to be out of a lot of people's price ranges. I'm not telling you to go buy it, you know. Now, if that price is okay with you and this one does it for you, it checks all the boxes for me. Of course, I would have liked it to be a little bit more versatile with that tip. However, I can use this portion, and I've enjoyed this one a lot. Way more than I expected. When I first saw it, I was like, it definitely gave me Chavez vibes, but if you ever wanted a super slicer Chavez, this is the one to get. I mean, the action is absolutely stellar. It's got a very well-tuned detent. I find it to be comfortable, especially when I'm choked up. And the more and more I carry and use it, the more and more I bond with this knife. I think this may have just become my new favorite KB knife. You know, before this one, it was the KB Knives Pioneer, but I go back and forth with these two. This one has a contoured scale, so it's a little bit more comfortable. This one has this deep hollow grind here, so it slices better in this portion, but this one I can use the tip a little bit easier. The Pioneer, though, also has that stupid stop pin right there. That's not terrible, but I would have liked to see it not there at all. So yeah, this one may have just become my new favorite KB knife. We shall see at the end of the year. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, for all you front flipper lovers out there, that jimping is good enough if you really wanted to. It's not the easiest, and I don't think it's intended for that, the way it's sitting below the scales like that. But if I want to, I can front flip it. I could probably, let's see. Yeah, I can even do the reach around there. But yeah, it can definitely be done. Doesn't feel the most natural. It's easier to do with the tip like that. But for me, I'm sticking with those. The thumb studs or the fullers for deployment. Very snappy and enjoyable to use, in my opinion. So, if nothing I talked about was a deal breaker, and you're interested in picking up your own KB Knives Mosquito, I will have it linked down below in the description. It will be an affiliate link, so if you want to help support what I do here in this channel, that just helps me pay for my testing materials and other stuff for the channel. I can't thank you enough. If not, no sweat at all. Just keep coming back. So that's going to wrap up today's video. If you have any questions in particular, feel free to ask me down below, and I'll do my best to get back with you. I hope every single one of y'all is having a fantastic day today. And remember, keep these blades sharp. Smile more.